5 countries that may choose China over the United States. 1. Saudi Arabia. Riyadh is America's traditional ally in the Gulf, but the kingdom is an aggressive dictatorship. Saudi Arabia has long relied on U.S. protection. However, it has faced a lot of criticism from the West. Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler is Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. MBS was implicated in the brutal murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. President Biden called Saudi Arabia a pariah. MBS has not forgotten the insult. Now he's considering switching to the yuan for foreign trade. 2. Brazil. Brazil's position very much depends on its president. Currently, it's Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. He won a 3rd term in January, replacing Jair Bolsonaro. In April, Lula paid a 3-day visit to Beijing. He returned with a message focused on politics rather than commerce.
We want to raise the level of the strategic partnership between our countries, expand trade flows, and together with China, balance world geopolitics.
Brazil is South America's largest economy. Now Lula is pushing the continent to move closer to China.
Every night I ask myself why all countries have to base their trade on the dollar.
3. France. France often wants to be a third force in the world. Charles de Gaulle pledged solidarity with China back in 1964. Now Emmanuel Macron is repeating Beijing's talking points. On the one hand, France has always been pro-American. It was liberated by U.S. troops in World War II. It's one of the founding members of NATO. However, it has always sought to counter American hegemony. Now Macron is saying the tensions over Taiwan are not France's problem.
It would be a trap for Europe if we got caught up in crises that are not ours.
He also said he was striving to preserve EU unity with respect to China. Macron paid a state visit to Beijing in April.
The position of France and the European Union is the same on Taiwan, namely, to recognize one China, preserve the status quo, and search for a Pacific solution.
This is not true. The EU is very divided in its position on Taiwan, but it's a clear signal to the US. 4. South Korea. Seoul is an American ally, caught between 2 superpowers. Like Riyadh, it has traditionally relied on US military support. Its arch nemesis Pyongyang is Beijing's ally, but war is a distant possibility, whereas trade happens here and now. Moon Hee-sang, the Speaker of South Korea's legislature, said in April,
"Asking if South Korea will choose either China or the United States is like asking a child whether you like your dad or your mom. We cannot abandon economy for the sake of security, and we cannot abandon security for the sake of economy."
But what if mom and dad get divorced? Seoul has been doing the balancing act for years. China is its largest trade partner. If it has to choose, there's no guarantee it will choose America. 5. Mexico. Mexico has always maintained close ties with its northern neighbor. NAFTA is a crucial factor in its trade policies. The United States is its #1 trading partner, but China is #2, and the balance is shifting. China accounted for 1% of Mexico's total trade in 2000. In 2019, it was 9.8%. Over the same period, trade with the U.S. fell from 81% to 63%. Mexico and China established a strategic relationship in 2003. During the pandemic, Beijing became Mexico's biggest helper. It's applied vaccines and personal protective equipment on a huge scale. Today, Mexico is considering adopting the Chinese 5G standard. Washington is pushing for the U.S. standard. The Chinese and Mexican foreign ministers met last November. Their statement was obviously aimed at Washington.
Both China and Mexico are independent countries and important emerging economies, and they always respect each other and treat each other as equals. The bilateral relationship does not target any third party.